There we go. Well, welcome to the October 14th, 2024 meeting of the Neskowin Community Plan Steering Committee. On the that since we have a quorum of three of our committee members, I can call this meeting to order. I would ask that the committee members to approve tonight's agenda.
I approve.
I do.
Okay, I do as well. And I will ask if there are any amendments or if we may approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was the 1st or October 1st, I believe. And
no objection.
No objection. Those are a recording, correct?
Those are recordings, yes.
Yeah, well, I guess we have to go through the formality, but seems a little silly.
Yes, it does. Well, we'll have to go to bylaws. It might take 2 years to change that, we don't know.
No, we can make that a policy and procedure.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone have a conflict of interest with anything on this evening's agenda?
I have no conflicts.
I have no conflict.
Nor do I. So review draft of the community plan, October 12th. I did that. And I have very small things and other things that are just observations or questions for our group. And I don't know if I'd let anyone else go first if they were right on top of it and have something to say, having reviewed the draft.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. So I was really gonna hope the guy was here to ask him these questions because I don't think we have the answers. But I wondered why under Neskowin R1 it says no parks or recreation areas. It seems like that's an odd thing to say you can't have in a neighborhood. If somebody wanted to buy a lot and turn it into a park or something. Anyway, and by including what has been given to you, Tom, about the current ordinances, it is striking to see so much striking out of everything in those things. It's pretty dramatic. And I'm not going to go through and question each one. I know there's a general logic here to saying we're minimizing options and trying to focus on residential density.
Well, what's in that section? It occurred to me today that I didn't make that clear. That is what Guy sent me as what was asked for before. That actually belongs in an appendix.
So that's in 2020 or 2000.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
those are the requests, and we've not gotten responses.
Wow. In 24 years.
You don't get too insistent.
Right. Well, it is hard to write the new one without the old one being corrected or updated. Okay, let's see. Oh, there was instead of a comma, an equal. I know that kind of came across with part of the old. I've seen it a number of times in the old documents. Instead of a comma, there's an equal sign, and it's under why we're Neskowin, and it's down about the 5th line. It says, people of Neskowin hope to preserve and enhance the beauty of the land and the community's relaxed way of life. Communities has an equal sign right before the S. So that is a very minor point, but since I observed it, I
will change. We will have a revision 4.
Okay, don't do it on the account of that.
Well, I mean, I also want to move those previous requests to an appendix.
Right.
So
well, I like being able to read them and know what it currently says, so I understand better what we're proposing. And so I guess we're in the same boat we were 24 years ago, where our recommendations are never edited or changed by the county. They just ignore them. Is that
I believe and I'm going on what my impression
secondhand?
was.
Right. Right.
No, secondhand impressions of somebody's secondhand recollections. Uh, anyway, that they were basically all declined on the grounds that it was a take.
Even in
Uh,
24 years ago, that was
yeah,
the
that that was the impression I got.
okay.
So if we add anything, in a sense, that's also a take. Because
Yeah, everything's a take if
if you change anything, it's a take, which is kind of silly, but
right.
it is what it is.
Welcome to a litigious society here.
Uh,
Sorry, Tom Prohodich about that.
You're
Okay,
you're okay, except I would call it a taking.
you would.
Well, that's what it is. I mean,
Okay,
I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that's the correct terminology for someone
right.
who's making a constitutional argument that their property is being taken. It's, I was sitting here going, what's a take? But I thought I figured it out, but for, since it's used now a lot in a lot of things that are happening in Tillamook
Mhm.
County. To be clear, call it a taking.
Yeah, that's why they don't want us to do it. Okay, and then I'm sorry I'm just jumping around, but these are general things I don't think we're going to do about it anyway, but I think they're interesting things. So it says that currently there's no overlay zone in the zoning ordinance which adequately inventories and protects these features, these natural features, while allowing balanced development and growth to occur. While the Neskowin community and Tillamook County have agreed to improve existing regulations, it will take some time to conduct and complete the work for Neskowin. So I was thinking, could this be something Neskowin produces, a GIS overlay with features and riparian, estuary, forest, creeks, all these things articulated as an inventory, and go out and ground truth those with GPS stuff and make a map of it so that we have a record of what all the different areas and what happens in them and natural features that are worth protecting. Because as much to do the project, it would be really fun to do. And I now have an inside agent in GPS stuff. My son is doing that. So I think it'd be a cool project to go and identify all these things at GPS them and map them. And Neskowin would have a resource map of the natural resource and features in its environment. But anyway, that was just something I picked up on and got excited about.
Yeah. I wonder if the county would pay any attention to that, or anybody would, if it isn't legal. I mean, if you don't have a professional.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the world, I suspect people's thinking have not caught up to the fact that anybody can do a survey now.
Uh-huh.
But they do physical surveys when they were laying out some water lines for South Beach Road. They still used a physical line sight stuff. So without that, I think probably we don't have anything we can really
Apply
use.
it to.
Yeah.
Well, still be a fun project.
It would. Oh, okay. I agree.
Uh,
Maybe we can just do an informal, just label it as informal survey.
right.
That would,
And if it's a readable map, that's
yeah.
what. So on the public facility policy recommendations, under community request, it says community plan supports purchase would be. So I didn't know if this was something that Guy had given you that they all crossed out. I didn't know it came from 2000. because there's a couple different sections. One was clearly the old thing, but this one seemed like it was,
Okay, so tell me what page you're on, please.
well, that's the thing. I just made the notes on a separate sheet.
Well, that will make it harder for me to find.
Right.
Okay, give me
Well, public facility policy recommendations and community requests are both major headings. This is pretty deep into the ordinances. Anyway, it was just a thing when it talks about the watershed and the water district and the sanitary district. For a place for us to put the Neskowin Community Plan supports purchase of the Neskowin Creek watershed. And Lori had said the other day in the meeting, she wondered if our language was strong enough to indicate a thumbs up on purchase of the watershed. So this seemed like the place to do it in community requests. So that's probably later in the more aspirational sense of the current community plan.
Okay, that would be under directions for the future because that doesn't involve the county.
There you go. And
Okay.
G, community requests, the letter G was community supports purchase. So you don't have to put it there because it's the old plan, but
Yeah, but I can add it as a bullet in the directions for the future.
Okay. So those are non-monumental observations that just came from me reading it today, and things that either jumped out at me as being fixable or prompted thinking about them and what might happen. So that's about as much as we can do tonight. We have no Sarah. We have no Guy with any update from his activity. We were going to discuss the definitions of farm and forest in ordinances. Maybe that's why Lynn and Guy aren't here. Their homework was not possible to do again. So we can move on to prepare the agenda for the October 28th meeting, unless anyone else has things.
Oh, I have a comment. I think we
Okay.
should stake with our proposed schedule. And if we have great gaping holes in it because we don't have information, we leave those editorial comments in. Need information from the county and just submit it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we
get
can't
the
do.
answers. Well, it's like turning it into the teacher and then you get your correction. So you get a D unless you can rewrite this. Okay, well, help us out here.
I wonder if Sarah's even seen it yet.
Well,
it's a bit frustrating.
Yes, it is. And but she was at her mom's for her birthday, first day she'd taken off 6 weeks. I mean, all these things are just depressing reality that she's bearing under the weight of more than we are. And I think that if we can do what we believe, we do have to bring it to some public meetings here. We can't just suggest ordinances on our own. So if we can't write anything because we can't get any information from our mentor, there's not going to be much there, except for the progress we made so far, and we'll have to get feedback.
What about if we focus it on, since this is supposed to be an update from the original plan, if we can't get input about new information, what about if we just get the community buy-in to say what we said before we still believe and we still would like to advance these concepts, so that we at least don't slide backwards by just admitting that none of those are possible, but we could reaffirm what happened before and say, these are still our goals and we're looking to the county to see how they can help us implement them.
Okay.
Well, I think there was no prohibition for us requesting the same thing again. Sarah's trying to discourage us from doing that. At least that was my sense. I'm not persuaded
You're not persuaded that we
that
should.
we should not ask for what we want. You're not going to get what you want unless you ask for it. You may not get it when you ask for it, but at least you've asked.
Right, because the intent of the thing is to indicate the community's what it wants, and
Yeah.
oh well, but you can't want that, or that's a taking, so we can't do it. Well, it's still
But
we
now
want to
it's a
be
different.
clear that we don't want we want
It's
that is the will of these people, is that we not have all these things in our residential areas. So, Tom, you look like you're about to say something.
Tom, me, Tom.
Yes.
I'm, and any time I show up when Tom is on the committee, he's Tom 1 and I'm Tom 2.
Okay, Tom too.
That's how we establish, or how I established in bylaws.
Okay.
So are you talking now about any changes to the land use ordinances themselves? Or are you talking about aspirations or the vision statement? Because I gotten the impression that the vision statement was pretty much done, or at least, right?
That is done until we have ordinances, or unless
Right.
someone comes up with something that they want to add that we haven't thought of.
so
Yeah,
I think
I think I mean, my take on it is that you're going to have a hard time for several reasons. The major one of which is FEMA getting Sarah's attention before the end of the year. I think they're just overwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
And trying to at the same time administer and implement the STR renewals month by month until the end of the year, on top of everything else.
Right.
I think Sarah works about 100 hours a week, maybe 150.
Yeah.
Trying to think of how many hours there are in a week. 144, whatever, is that close? 168. But I think they're just overwhelmed. One of the things that I was going to suggest earlier is that one of your committee members, I'm sure you, notwithstanding your planning meeting on Wednesday night, will try to attend some of the meeting on FEMA Wednesday night and implore people to get re-involved in this. I think, as I said before Mark and Lori got on, I think people are just exhausted. You had a general meeting on Saturday, you got one today. We had one 2 weeks ago. We got one on Wednesday. And but we're going to be largely beyond, at least after the first of the year. You're trying to get this done by June, right? Is that the goal? Well, that gives you 5 or 6 months, and the decision of the county regarding FEMA really has to be made in the next month or two. Who knows what they're thinking?
Part
But
of the deadline for our plan originally was being driven by this HB, is that
406.
406?
406,
And
right?
that we had to, originally Sarah said that we had to take into account the repercussions of that within a certain period of time. And I thought it was by April. And so all of a sudden, when we were doing the timelines for this process, we thought we had to work within that. Well, it seems like those deadlines have just not been discussed at all by Sarah lately.
Well, depending on how you respond to FEMA, we could lose their mapping ability with floodplains, which means it'll be impossible to permit, plus lose flood insurance, which would affect much of the, if not all, much of the Neskowin village, for example.
Mm.
I guess you can try to get flood insurance from somewhere, but at some point, if you're not getting it from FEMA, you're not going to get it anywhere. Ask the people in Florida. But I think that's just, everything else is just on the far back burner because of the importance of that. And I don't think it's that Sarah is intending, because it's not possible for her to intend to be derelict in her duties. That's just not who she
I,
is.
I apologize if it sounded like I was.
Oh, no. I don't know, Tom one. I didn't think that at all.
Okay.
I just think that it's, it's, you're just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
And that you get their attention when you get their attention. Maybe, it seems to me this is a question that one of you might ask on Wednesday. We understand FEMA, but we got this community plan, and you're here. Could you tell us, what our deadlines on this are, and when we can get some response from the county on things that we're proposing. And she may just start screaming and run out of the room, but
I'm not asking that question then.
no, I don't. I mean, she obviously she won't. I would if I were her, but she's far too diplomatic and courteous. But I think it's just they're just overwhelmed.
Well, it may be that we get what we can done with what we have in hand and what we can grasp, and we put it to bed for 3 months and wake it up in the spring and say, we're ready to have meetings again and get going on this. We've gotten the information we've been requesting, and we want to get you involved and have community meetings and have you do this like we did the vision and values, so you understand what it is we're saying, and to your satisfaction, and we'll make some decisions.
That's why I think you're going to have her attention Wednesday night, and ask her about schedule, because she'll tell you. I mean, my understanding is she's like one of the representatives for the whole state. This is on the FEMA thing. So
Right. No, she's gone to the national conventions and talked to the head of the agency about it. And just come on, let's talk about this. There's got to be room here to move.
Right.
He's been bold.
Yeah, but just ask her, what's possible now.
So it's all Zoom. I can't get her to the side and say,
well,
Sarah, stick around after, don't turn off the Zoom. Let's get Sarah one-on-one.
I have to just say I agree with what you said, Rand, and with what Tom too is saying as well. I just think I do sense that they're overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
And um, you know, we didn't meet last month. I was late to the meeting, and then none of the other chairs showed up. So I did tell Sarah I have some questions for you, but I haven't heard from her because she's so busy.
Right.
But I totally agree that your group is ready to move, but you're asking difficult questions of them, and they've got the FEMA and the STRs, and they've got finance things going on in the county. They've just got a little bit of a storm going on right now, and it might be best to take a hiatus for a while and just wait until I don't know, after the turn of the calendar here, maybe January or something like that, when things settle down. I don't, because you guys are ready to go, but I just don't know that you're going to be able to make any progress, and the schedule is the schedule. I mean, we've seen what they've done with schedules. The STR thing was going to be, I mean, the Board of County Commissioners said we need an answer now, and that came in August, and so we need an answer by October from all of the unincorporated areas about the cap. And So everything's sort of thrown up in the air there.
Yeah.
So I just don't want your group to be frustrated about this, and maybe taking a break might be the thing to do. But like Tom said, trying to get an answer out of her, an honest answer out of her would be really great, which is probably a side conversation at some point with her about it. But
Right. And I think we could write it up, even try to send something else to her that
right.
and I think she does read them. She just is like going, what do I get to say to these guys?
Yeah.
But I think it's reasonable. And at this point, going into the winter with holidays and everything, it's even more chaos. And there's an election that's going to decide all of our fates. The troops will be coming to haul me out of my house and throw me on the pile.
Yeah.
There'll be other,
So there'll be other priorities.
no, they're coming to many of our houses.
Yeah, sadly.
Meet you at the bonfire. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, so I think it's a worthy consideration to just say let's start anew in the early spring, could be, March or something, and try and get the community back involved, because it's pretty hard to do in the winter, especially if you keep having meetings and there's the substance is hard to find.
Yeah.
You know,
So
one
I would,
one thing you might do is, if you don't want to put Sarah on the spot, is Mark or Rand or Tom or Lori, just ask her if, as a committee, you can have a discussion with her at some point, have 15, 20, 30 minutes just to talk about schedule.
Yeah.
Because I know that she still deals too with all of the personal grievances and that people, because I hear about them and I get
Right.
tells about them. And so she's doing that too. And that, of course, is, at least in my view, I know it's important to everybody that has a grievance or a concern about some land use issue or whatever issue it is, but it's not as important as the community plan. Community plan right now is the most important thing. I mean, in my view, you're beyond the STRs for at least a while. The bylaws are largely done. And by the way, Tom, I'm sorry I missed the meeting on Friday, or Friday before I was out of town. But I'll be there the next time, because it's fun. But the community plan is important. She can give you 30 minutes if Mark and if you all say, just let's just talk to you about what we need to do and schedule.
Yeah.
Man, you could do that Wednesday night. That would be different than saying commit now to telling us what you're going to do on all these things.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we would say, we're going to put this we're going to do what we can now, put it on the back burner, and we're going to take it up after the first of the year. Do you have a problem with that?
Right.
And just give a positive, proactive, we're going to do what we can. We have some things we could work on, like our future directions. We could flesh those out. Now, the new ordinances, probably not, but we do have some things we could work on.
Yeah.
Right. And I would like to focus on anything we can do that feels productive and check a box, and then that point, park it as you suggest, and just say to her, can we bring this up in the new year? We'll be ready to go. We'll rev up and get this going again. Got a problem with that? And that's pretty easy for her to say, no problem. Because she has said to me, there's no real schedule on this. And I was like going, I thought these other things had to be done. And she said, only if they can be done.
There was no real schedule until
FEMA.
let me see, July the 15th. Here's the FEMA letter.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's ruling the roost. And I think it'd be good to take a break at this point, because it's frustrating to me to not do anything. or do, and that's why I say even little things would be helpful. It is an amazing document, even as it is, Tom, as it is right now in a state.
Mhm.
It was very interesting to go through the different sections and go ahead and scour through it and go, okay, even if this ends up in the appendix, it's really great information that tells what people were thinking at that point in time and maybe continue to think that way. So anyway, I like the document and it seems like a valuable tool, and it just needs to get fleshed out. So with some kind of the heaviest part of it, which is land use recommendations.
Yeah.
But
Okay, there
well,
are some topics we could do, and I'm looking for them in the document. Go ahead, Laurie.
Oh, it's kind of just repeating what I said before, but on the meeting on Wednesday, it would be really helpful for me to get Sarah to clarify what is required about the Senate Bill 406, and if that's just as, because we haven't gotten the consultants that she originally said that we were going to meet with, and
yeah,
it might be that just across the state, people are reacting to it differently than the legislature intended, or, there could be, I know that's not the purpose of the meeting on Wednesday, but if she could just give us some direction about, is that still like an important thing to focus on with something to be completed by or not? Like, do we have any responsibility, or is the county just doing their own thing on that? Because I thought we had responsibility
That
to,
was my understanding, is that was the driver for the schedule.
yeah, that was my too. And so we can't just go on hiatus if we are still supposed to meet a deadline that the state has set, unless she gives us permission to say, no, that deadline it doesn't pertain to Tillamook anymore.
Well, I mean, that was the purpose of the question of, we're going to put it on the back burner. Do you have a problem with that? And
right.
if
And
she
then she
does,
can
and,
answer.
and if she does have a problem with that, then we have to talk about how we're going to get it done.
Right, right.
So what I would say, I think she's gonna, on Wednesday, I think she's gonna really be focused on the FEMA part of it, but I do think that a question, just like what Tom said, we're gonna put it on the back burner until the springtime. Is that, or Rand, if you say that to her or whatever, and I hope you're okay with that, Sarah, and then it's either a yes or a no. And if it's a no, no, we can't have you putting it on the back burner until the springtime. Then it's opened up a little bit for, okay, why briefly tonight? Why?
Right,
But if she says, yeah, that's fine, then that's the answer.
right,
That's it.
Yeah, we are a creature of the county, and
Yeah.
she is the county to us.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about is when the discussion was happening about,
Excuse me, Lori, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go.
okay,
Thank you for your diligence.
Thanks for being the public.
yeah,
I feel bad leaving since I was the public. And the public allegedly rules. So anyway,
That's right. Well,
just
we'll be on our best behavior once you're gone.
wait for just
okay.
a second, because I'm going to make a comment about the STR cap issue.
Okay.
And that was that when we were discussing the STR cap issue, one of the reasons for advocating to delay any response or to just table a decision about the caps was to give time for the community plan to be formulated and finished without the controversy of a simultaneous discussion about the caps. And so if we voluntarily push this off and table our progress on the community plan, we could very well be once again doing the community plan at the same time as trying to figure out the STR caps. And it would
I don't think so, because
Yeah.
I talked to some people afterwards about exactly what Sarah had said about when this would next come up. And
Mhm.
there are different interpretations, but I think probably the best one is that it's not the STR cap issue is not going to come up until next fall again, and to be implemented if the commissioners make a decision about caps for unincorporated communities in 2026. And that could change, and people may have heard it differently, but and talking to people afterwards, that seemed to be the consensus. So
Okay.
if you get it finished this by June or July or this summer, I think you're okay.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
Okay, good night, Tom, too.
Good. It's good to see you all.
All right,
Thank
you
you,
too.
Tom.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, I think we can figure out the question to ask and see what she says, and that will be more than we know tonight. So there's progress in coming up with a question even.
Yeah, actually, in some sense, Tom or Rand, I think she's got to be kind of expecting this question, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
she hasn't been at meetings, and and she's busy, and it's not. This isn't going to be a surprise. That shouldn't surprise her to have that question. I don't think.
right. She might
I
sigh of relief.
and yeah, and she might just say, yeah, no, that would be fine. I don't know, but I yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that feeling. Okay, well, with that, I will ask for adjournment unless there's any other ideas that have come up or you want to bring up.
No,
Okay,
thanks.
what I'm going to
Oh,
do is make the minor changes, getting rid of the equal signs. I moved the previous requests to an appendix by itself.
okay,
And
thank you.
I'll republish that, and it should be out tomorrow.
You might. Thank you, Tom. Greatly appreciate it. I'm so excited to get this fleshed out because it's going to be a hell of a document. It's really amazing. So, okay, well, thank you all. And I will end the meeting or end the recording. Stop video. No, that's not. It's over here. No, stop recording. Okay.